Good evening. Welcome to The Dope Show. I'm your host, Kiana Hughes. DOPE stands for Developing Opportunities for Personal Empowerment. And every Monday, we do that here on IntellectualRadio.com, where we discuss the cannabis industry, the cannabis plant, as well as the laws and legal things going on with the cannabis industry here in Illinois. Tonight, we have a very exciting show. We're going to talk all about how to get that dope money. You guys know I'm all about getting that dope money. We are going to talk to two representatives from two different cannabis staffing agencies. So we have Miss Tiffany Hogan is going to be joining us from THC Staffing, as well as Amanda Guerrero from Vanks Talent Network. So before we get into all of that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about a couple things that came across my desk this week. As far as dope money is concerned, I haven't shared any stock tips with you guys or any stock information lately. So just get into a couple different things here. There's a company called AV1 Group, and they've actually announced the launch of their new proprietary cannabis LED solution. So we know about LED in terms of televisions and all of that. Well, this is in regards to the lighting. And I'm kind of glad this came across my desk. I was speaking with a coworker just the other day, and she was talking about her and her husband, or her and her family, wanting to get into the industry and looking into the dispensary licensing programs. And she's in Boston, Massachusetts. Well, her husband is an electrician for the hospital system in Boston. And I said, dear, you really need to, if you guys want to do something, you really need to get your husband to look into lighting and doing electrical consulting for the dispensary. So, think about that. I always hear this story about, during the gold rush, the people that found the gold, they got rich, but the people that stayed rich and made the most money were those who were selling the picks and the axes. And that's what we're looking at. We're trying to sell the picks and axes. So lighting is a big thing. So this company, again, AV1 Group Inc., and their symbol is AVOP. They have launched a partnership with Apollo Smart Lights, and they are a wholly owned subsidiary of Canna Lighting. Excuse me. So they're going to manufacture lighting products for this company, and they have a line of products for Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada, and Mexico, which are all prime cannabis growth territories. The new LED system addresses and solves a key problem common to all horticulture growers, which is the timing from vegetative to bloom. And the system will enable this process to proceed as quickly as possible and increases the cost effectiveness of the growth cycle. So do a little research into AVOP. That's the AV1 Group. They're currently trading at 17.9 cents per share. They had a 52-week high of $1.50 per share, and that was back on May 31st of 2016. So they're poised to maybe do some big things. They're definitely a company to watch. Also, a company we've talked about before, MSIG, they just announced that they've had their best quarter in their history, in the history of their company. So they had a net sales increase to $4.5 million, which is 158% increase year to year from the fourth quarter, or from the last fiscal period. And actually, it's a 1,294% increase for the fourth quarter compared to the same period in the last fiscal year. So MSIG, they are a distributor of innovative products, technologies, and services for the global medical cannabis industry. They are currently trading at 21.5 cents per share. They had a 52-week high of 50.5 cents per share, and that was just a few months ago, back in January 17th of 2017. Again, their ticker symbol is MCIG. And in other news, we have Rocky Mountain High Brands, and so they specialize in hemp-infused food and beverage products, and also high alkaline water. So if you guys are on the alkaline water craze, they are a company that specializes in that. Well, they just recently appointed Kevin Harrington to their board of directors and as a marketing and communications consultant. Now, you may recognize the name Kevin Harrington. He is one of the original sharks from the TV show Shark Tank. I know it's a show that I love to watch. He's also the inventor. He's known as the inventor of the infomercial, and he is the as seen on TV pioneer. So they're doing big things. I think it's a great move on their part to get him on their board of directors. Obviously, he knows how to make some money, and he knows how to help other companies thrive and make money as well. I can't go past that aisle in the stores. When I pass the as seen on TV aisle, I might never actually watch the infomercials, but I always stop in the aisle to see what they're doing. So anytime you can get some of my money, I think you're doing a good thing. The Rocky Mountain High brands, their ticker symbol is RMHB. They are currently trading at looks about 8.17 cents per share, and their 52-week high, which was on January 24th of this year, it was at 16.4 cents per share. So definitely a stock to watch. And then finally, Mass Roots, which is a leading technology platform for the medical cannabis patients and businesses. They have just launched their celebrity influencer campaign, and they're trying to accelerate the growth of users of their app. So they have an app. It's an app that I use and consult very often as well. It's the Mass Roots app. And one of the most prominent celebrity supporters and entrepreneurs here in the cannabis space, as we all know, longtime supporter Snoop Dogg. Uncle Snoop is going to be one of the first celebrity influencers in their program, and he's currently, just kind of influencing people and sending people from his Instagram to Mass Roots. So he's gotten on board with them as well as an influencer in the cannabis space. Mass Roots, their ticker symbol is MSRT, and they are currently trading at 67.5 cents per share. They had a 52-week high of $1.18 per share, and that was back in January 5th of 2017. People always ask me, where do I get this information from? I literally just look up stuff on E-Trade. So anybody can look on E-Trade. Anybody can open an E-Trade account. These are things that you can look up for yourself, and it's a really great place to start to do some of that research and find out this information for yourself. You can also open an E-Trade account, and you can use that to save money to purchase stock as well. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. There are a number of other sites that you can use to do the same thing. I just encourage you, as always, do your research. Find out the information for yourself, but definitely don't sleep on these opportunities to make money, and that potential is there. So as I always say, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't play one on TV. I just try to teach people and show people how to get money any way that we can. Ain't that right? So when we come back, we are going to continue this dope money talk, and we're going to talk about getting a job, a job in the cannabis industry. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages. This is The Dope Show on IntellectualRadio.com. We're back with The Dope Show on IntellectualRadio.com and TwoDopeChicks.com. Joining us today, we have Miss Tiffany Hogan of THC Staffing. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Kiana. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining us on The Dope Show. And Tiffany, you're joining us all the way from Boston. Am I correct?
I am in Boston.
How's the weather in Boston?
It's chilly, not very spring-like.
Oh, well, it's very spring-like in Chicago, so I'm gonna rub it in because it'll be snowing tomorrow. Well, thank you for joining us. I really just wanted to chat with you about THC staffing, about getting a job in the industry, and all of those good things there. So if you're ready, we can just go ahead and jump right in.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Let's go.
Okay. So, first of all, I always like to get some of the personal story behind the people who I'm interviewing. So tell us a little bit about your role at THC Staffing and how you got started in the cannabis industry.
Okay, so I'm a recruitment consultant for THC staffing. I've been doing it for a little over a year now, maybe almost 2 years. And I started by like truly networking. So I've been a cannabis recreational user for like half of my life. And then a few years ago, my dad was actually diagnosed with lung cancer, and I was looking at ways to like, help him and not, feel helpless. And so I turned to cannabis. It was legal here medicinally. And so I started growing actually. And then after a year or two of that, I decided to kind of like, I always say, come out of the cannabis closet.
Right.
And,
it's a term we use a lot.
Just start networking with like-minded people and maybe like try to figure out a way to make a living off the industry. It's a growing industry. And so I started just going to events. I looked online, I looked on meetups, and I just started networking. And so I met Shalene Title, who is the founder of THC Staffing Group, at a networking event. And we together some time for dinner, and I just went thinking I was just networking, just talking to someone, learning more. And about a week later, she called me and she said she talked to a partner and they wanted to hire me as a recruitment consultant.
Wow.
I have a background in career development and recruiting. And so, I always tell people to think about transferable skills. I'm a prime example using my skills from my career and transitioning it to cannabis.
I think that's awesome. So when you had dinner or lunch with Shalene, who I love, she has come out and done some things for us here in Chicago. Love Shalene Title. When you were having dinner with her, were you interviewing did you know you were interviewing for a job at that time?
I did not even think about it. I thought we were just like, we had
just
things
chatting.
in common. We both had young little boys, so we talked about our kids. We talked about our careers in school. It was just like really for me a personal kind of outing.
Sure, and you were just kind of doing some seeking, just trying to find out about the industry in general.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I think that's really important because you weren't out, necessarily hustling to get a job. You weren't, just bombarding her with your resume, but just showing your genuine interest in the industry and just kind of letting that lead the way. I think that's an excellent and awesome testament to that.
Absolutely.
So now what are positions and also, I guess, geographic areas that you focus on in your recruiting?
So I've had searches all over the country, specifically in states where, it's legal, either medicinally or recreationally. So I've had searches in California and Colorado, of course, but also places where, the last couple of years, the elections have changed a lot and businesses are growing. So I have searches in New Hampshire, here in Massachusetts, even Florida and Maryland.
Okay. What are some of those positions?
They really range. I think we, as a company, we kind of focus on more professional type jobs. And so a lot of the searches I work on are like a sales representative or operations manager, sometimes managers of dispensaries. I've even had like a graphic designer search before.
Okay.
So I look for, again, thinking about transferable skills, I look for people with various backgrounds that might work in the cannabis industry. So a lot of my searches don't require cannabis work, but if you have some applicable skills like sales or management or compliance, because, the industry is really regulated. So I look for people with maybe someone who worked in pharmaceuticals or even banking, because those are really regulated areas.
Okay. Now here's a question. Speaking of sales, I got to ask this question for my dope boys on the corner, for my brothers in the streets, right? So let's say someone has a fairly clean record. They were somehow able to escape, any real jail time or any real, hits to their criminal record, but they have some black market experience or some underground experience, maybe not in sales so much, but maybe they were growing at home, or they've just been, an enthusiast for a long time, kind of underground in an illegal state. How can someone in that situation kind of parlay that experience into a job in the legitimate industry?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, especially for people of color. I think it can work for them, using experience, whether it's like maybe black market sales or growing, but kind of, turn it into how it's going to help an organization professionally, right? So maybe through sales, you learn like negotiating skills or delegation skills, like really talk about the skills that are needed for the job and in the industry and how you can help them. And in terms of growers, sometimes that's a double-edged sword I've seen. So some companies, they want people with growing experience, but they also want them to grow their way. There's a lot of different ways to grow, right? So I've seen people come in, acting like they knew it all, and that worked against them. So you have to be flexible and open to what the company's trying to do. It's still very new, and like I said, there's a lot of different ways to cultivate. And so I found that sometimes when looking for like cultivation managers, there's a special, not just skills, but like personality traits and cultural fit that I'm looking for.
So what kind of personality traits and cultural fit? That's a great thing to bring up. What kind of people are working in this industry?
Yeah, again, I think sometimes it depends on the company. Each company, organization has their own culture. But I think in general, like I said, being flexible and open is really important, especially at the entry level kind of positions. Being open to different positions. Sometimes I hear companies say, not necessarily give me a job description, but say, it would be great if I could find somebody who could do this. And so looking for those skills, not necessarily like their past job titles, is really helpful. So whether it's, if you grow, that's great, but I think you should have some other skills like working well with people or negotiating or being able to change direction quickly. That's important.
Okay. And then also, I guess, some general, interviewing skills and communication skills and things
Absolutely.
of that nature.
And I think, also I just want to stress, we talked about a little bit earlier about my entrance into the industry of passion. I feel like if I had, two great candidates with similar backgrounds, what would take the person over the edge is their passion for the industry, their willingness to learn, and their ability to, follow up quickly.
Absolutely. I have to agree with that. One of the things that I've said, ever since I even got into this industry is that in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of people that are in it just to make money, right? And they really have no passion for the industry, but those people are going to fizzle out. At some point, they're going to be on to the next money-making thing, or, if you don't have the passion for it and the money is not there right away, you'll move on to the next thing. But the people that'll really last, I think, are going to be those who are actually passionate about it in the first place.
Absolutely. A lot of people call me and I think they want that quick money, and I'm clear about it. Like, it's not always quick money. You need to be passionate and patient and, again, flexible.
Right. It's not like actual drug dealing. It's, it's not actually like selling drugs. It's a lot slower. It's a much steeper learning curve. What are some credible resources or ways that people can educate themselves so that they can actually prepare for jobs in the industry, or just to kind of, get their weight up, so to speak, so they can actually be viable candidates?
Yeah, one thing is just understanding like the business, the industry, the regulations in your area. I often tell people to go onto their state's website. Like for Massachusetts, it's the state treasurer's website. You can find information about like the committee and where they're at with regulations. Sometimes like the Department of Public Health, if your state if marijuana is legal medicinally. I find a lot of information that way, and a lot of people who are involved in it, they're usually like business owners or are part of organizations that I try to, tap into. That's a great way to identify people to connect with as well. And then there's a lot of different industry groups. That's where I first saw you, Kiana, was at Women Grow. Women Grow has been,
yes,
for me, it's been a great place to network. It's been a safe place. I've met such interesting people, really diverse. The Minority Cannabis Business Association is another great organization. There's a lot of local clubs. I've been to like Hemp Industry Association events, and then the National Cannabis Industry Association is great. It's all like business owners. I always come away learning something or making a new connection there.
Great. And I know NCIA, I think they have a conference coming up in June.
And they even have quarterly caucuses. I don't know if you've ever been
to that are more localized.
Yeah, so I always make sure I go to one that's in my area.
Yes, and that's NCIA, so that's the National Cannabis Industry Association. Take a look for some of their regional quarterly caucuses that they have too. Okay, so before we get off, Tiffany, can you just tell me and tell my audience how they can get in touch with THC Staffing if they want to submit a resume or search open positions?
Go to our website. It's thcstaffinggroup.com. You can see our open listings as well as upload your resume. I love it because candidates can use different keywords to tag themselves. And so when I'm running a search, say, for instance, someone with a sales background or a health background, I can find them. So definitely tag yourself so you come up in my searches. I also wanted to stress how important LinkedIn is. I use it a lot to network. So I encourage everybody to update their LinkedIn page and get it professional looking, because that's definitely a resource I tap into.
You know what? Oh, darn. You know what? I am going to ask you this question. So how, what about people who are trying to, you spoke about LinkedIn. I know people may be kind of hesitant because that's their professional thing where they have their real work stuff. They might not want people to know that they're trying to get into the industry that way. So, real quick, can you just address that for a quick second?
So I see it both ways. So part of me, it's been hard for me to be public about my work in cannabis and my interests. So a lot of it, sometimes I tell people who are uncomfortable with like really writing marijuana or showing cannabis on their LinkedIn profile to, again, show transferable skills, talk about their interests. If, you want to work at a dispensary, talk about customer service skills and patient advocacy, that kind of thing. On the other hand, I also think that in states where it's legal, like, we just have to change the conversation. This is a growing industry. It's legal. It's reputable. Like, I think we just have to change our way of thinking too. And I still struggle with it sometimes.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be something that we will struggle with for a while until it just becomes a better thing. But
especially those of us in communities where we've been prosecuted for so long, it's really hard.
It really is. Well, listen, Tiffany, I hate to cut you off, but I got another call coming in. Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing and connecting with you again soon.
Great. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right. And now we're going to be joined by Amanda Guerrero. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we're going to talk to Amanda Guerrero We're back with the Dope Show here Monday nights, 8:00 p.m. We're developing those opportunities for personal empowerment in the cannabis industry. And joining us by phone at this point is my good friend, Miss Amanda Guerrero from Vangst Talent Network. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, Kiana. It's such a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Man, thank you. Amanda, you were one of the first legit people that I met in the cannabis industry. You were working
Oh,
for
man.
another staffing agency here in Chicago, and I was just like, I need a job here. Take my resume, take my phone number. Like,
Oh yeah, remember when we talked on the phone? We talked on the phone for like an hour and a half.
yes.
I think I don't know, you just picked up the kids or something, or just started relaxing. But,
Yes.
yeah.
So
What you and Tanisha did with Women Grow, it was truly just amazing. The turnaround that we had, it was a really good time working with you guys.
Yes, and you were a great supporter and a great resource for us at Women Grow. So I just want to go ahead and get started. I really want you to talk to our audience a little bit about your journey in the cannabis industry. I know you've done some moving around, girl. So, just get into it a little bit. What's your role now and how'd you get started?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again for having me on the show. It really is a pleasure to connect with you again and, to kind of share my story. So I am a talent manager at Banks Talent Network. So essentially I am a recruiter or headhunter for the cannabis industry. I really got started by being in the right place at the right time. I was a job seeker about 2.5 years ago, and it was right around the time when Illinois had just started granting licenses to the dispensary and cultivation holders. And I had a serious conversation with my family about, getting involved in cannabis. And they said, Amanda, if this is something you want to do, educate yourself and go after it. So, I attended a couple networking events. I think it was March 2015. Really just tried to educate myself as much as possible on the Illinois law. And then from there, I had attended kind of a bud tender training seminar where I actually met, some of my really good friends in cannabis that I still talk to now. And someone that had a golden ticket in their pocket decided to sit next to me, and I was kind of a show off. I'm not gonna lie. I showed off my knowledge. I really was engaged with the speaker. I communicated to the best of my ability. And at the end of the seminar, the man that sat next to me was like, "Hey, I see you as being more than a bud tender. I've got my own recruiting firm. I think you could be, a really great recruiter. Give me a call and we'll get an interview set up." And then from there, it was like the floodgates opened, and I really found my calling as a recruiter. I love my job. I love working with my clients, but more importantly, I love working with my candidates because they definitely, I feel like I was granted a really great opportunity by being in the right place at the right time, and by the trade, of my by my profession, I now have the opportunity to give other people that same kind of chance that I was given. So, that's kind of how I got started.
Well, and we can all tell, and I already know you're definitely a firecracker. You're very passionate about what you do. So I think that just kind of shines through, and I think that's a great testament to the true passion that you have for the industry, that you were able to just take that and take, you're showing off, and you did the studying, and the right people saw you and heard you. So that's excellent. You were able to present yourself in a good way before you even got around to actually interviewing for a job.
Yeah. I always like to, think that a skill set will get you in the door, but who you are, the confidence that you show, and really just the positive, nature of yourself is what's going to make, the most lasting impression, for anybody kind of on the hiring end, because, honestly, that guy didn't know me from anybody else in that room. And, the only thing that really stood out was me, myself, and I. So that's definitely something that, any and every job seeker, if you have confidence, if you have a positive attitude, if you have, if you just put your best foot forward and just put yourself out there, the universe opens up to you. It may take a couple times, it may take, 100 tries, it may take one try, but, just keep putting yourself out there, and, the world will open up to you. It most definitely will.
I'm hearing one of the things that I keep hearing over and over again with you, and then we also spoke with someone else from another staffing agency, is that your networking skills and your communication skills seem to be some of the most important skills that you can have. Can you work in this industry if you're not a people person?
Ooh, good question. Good question. Being a people's person it's an inherent skill that we can have, and it's also a learned skill. That's kind of a tough question. I would say it depends on the role, right? So if you're looking at someone in kind of, an accountant role, well, but even that, I just hired an accountant for a client in Chicago, and he was so dynamic, so excited, so passionate about the industry, and was really just excited to get involved, with this company. But, there are definitely some personality types that do better in certain roles, but if you're looking for the next big thing, like if you're looking for something in sales, if you're looking for something in retail, if you're looking for something that's basically just client or public facing, you're definitely going to want to be a people person. But like I said, that's a skill that you can learn by putting yourself out there. There's tons of networking events. I know you guys have a ton of networking events. I think IWC is having like a summer social coming up here. That's a great way to put yourself out there. Even if you just talk to one person or two people, or have an attainable goal for yourself to meet at least, 1 to 3 people that night, shake their hands, introduce yourself, say a little bit about who you are, what you're looking for, why you're involved in the industry, that will be able to take you, a lot farther than just standing in a corner, hoping that someone notices you. Because, in this industry, everybody's trying to get noticed. And even if being a people person isn't the most comfortable thing for you, there's tons of ways that you can practice doing it. I wouldn't necessarily say that being a people person is a requirement, but it definitely is something that's going to help propel you much farther, much faster, than just relying on a piece of paper to tell someone who you are.
Yes, and going beyond just your actual work experience and your education. When you talk about accountant, he knows more than just how to crunch numbers, right? He can crunch the numbers and do the thing, but he also had to come in and sell himself and actually, cannabis is such a community kind of thing. That's what made me think of that when we were just talking, because I just think about at some of the events and some of the, cannabis industry, not the bougie ones, but like the, the friendlier ones, they really are, it's kind of familial, kind of, very friendly there. So, let's say somebody is ready to quit their job and relocate to get into the industry. Where should they go? What's the next hot market for cannabis jobs? And why do you keep moving around? What's going on with you?
Ooh. Yeah. Well, I like to follow the opportunity, and for myself, the opportunity took me to Los Angeles. Got the lay of the land out there, learned the market, made some good connections, and then the next opportunity took me to Denver. So I came out here, but for other candidates or potential job seekers that are looking for the next big market, the next big thing, my sales biz dev team just got back from the Marijuana Business Daily Conference in DC with a
I was there last week.
New positions specifically for the East Coast. So, right now, West Coast still kind of ramping up. California is definitely poised to be, the biggest market, in the entire industry within the next couple of years. So that's definitely a place to watch. But to be quite honest, it's still the wild, wild west. A lot of these businesses are still trying to figure out, their licensing. They're still trying to buy the property, the land, get their management team in place, just kind of get the right people in the right place. But a lot of those people are going to be coming from, higher level positions. Whereas on the East Coast, there's definitely going to be a lot of opportunities for, those that are passionate about cannabis, that want to get involved on a patient consultant or a bud tender level. Tons of opportunities for that. If you have existing cannabis experience, let's say you were a dispensary manager in Colorado that moved to Illinois to help open up, a couple stores in there, but you're originally from the East Coast, there are a ton of dispensary manager roles that are available. We're actually working with a couple clients right now that we got from DC that are looking for managers with cannabis experience to open up, a couple of their shops. One's going to be in Maryland, another one's going to be in Massachusetts, another one I think there's actually two in Maryland. My sales team would kill me, but yeah, I think there's about two in Maryland. But if you don't have any cannabis experience, I would say your best bet is to do a lot of research on the cannabis industry as a whole, because each market is different. Each market has a different set of rules and regulations, and within that, some markets have been around for a lot longer, like here in Colorado. So let's say you're a C-level exec that is looking to quit your job as a CFO in Chicago, and you want to move to Denver and get involved in the cannabis industry. You're going to have a lot more opportunities like that here in Colorado, than I think you would in other, new emerging markets. I would say the best way to kind of put this in perspective is to think about where Illinois was this time last year, and the growth that you guys experienced, and how, this time last year there was a hiring craze. I mean, I see job descriptions go up all the time for patient consultants, trimmers, packagers, right, all that for the cultivators and dispensaries in Illinois, but they didn't have that staff this time last year. So they were looking for, more entry-level people. So, just kind of educate yourself on the market, watch the market, really kind of see where they are in the stage of their business, and figure out what kind of a opportunity is going to be the best fit for you. Like I said, if you're a CFO or you're, a sales manager, or, you have a certain level of experience that, requires a certain compensation package, I would look to more established markets. Whereas if you're kind of more of an entrepreneurial spirit and you have more flexibility in your compensation, and you have, a certain level of experience that will allow you to expand on your skill set within a cannabis business, that would require a relocation opportunity, and you can do that, then go after these new and emerging markets. But like I keep saying, it kind of depends on the market, it kind of depends on the role. But I would say East Coast probably is where it's going to be happening within the next couple months for sure.
Okay, so we got to keep an eye out on the East Coast.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, so we have no coast here. We're right here in the Midwest. You did mention having hired for an accountant position out here. Anything that you know of, anything hot happening here in Illinois? I've seen a couple of, before you mention that, but what I've noticed is that when there are jobs that are posted in Illinois, that they either seem to be already taken or they are like just kind of few and far between. So how do we access the market here in Illinois? Any tips for us there?
That's a really great question. I started recruiting in the Illinois market. I worked with a really great dispensary group, and spoke to a lot of potential patient consultants, budtenders, as well as a lot of managers. But kind of since then, since I've moved away from Chicago, I've really started focusing a lot more on the national and international markets. But just from my experience working in Illinois, I'd say probably a lot of the job postings that are on there are proactive. Like I said earlier, there's always going to be a need for good patient consultants, good budtenders, and those people don't fall off of trees. Right. So, they probably just put those job descriptions out there to see what kind of talent they're going to attract, but and really just build that pipeline. So when they do have another position or an open position, they can just actively reach out to the people that they've already spoken to, already proactively, just talk to, and say, hey, Kiana, I have a patient consultant role available that you would be a great fit for. Here's the starting pay. We've already had the interview. Let's bring you in for a final round and have the executed offer letter by the end of the week. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely does. And I think that also speaks to the importance of going to some of these other events and networking events. You mentioned the IWC, Illinois Women in Cannabis. They have I'll have to look up the information, but I know they have a summer networking session coming up, and that is, especially in a market that is kind of small and emerging as it is now in Illinois, those kinds of events are really where you get to rub elbows and bump into some of the heavier hitters in the industry, at least as it relates to this small market. And you know as well as I know, Amanda, we would sometimes be at these things and it was not necessarily as diverse as it could have been. What has been since you've kind of been looking at things on the national landscape, what is the, how's the diversity looking as far as the candidates, people who are applying and those who are getting hired for jobs? Am I making sense of my question?
Yeah, no, okay. That's a really great question. To be perfectly honest, diversity in cannabis is still a very sensitive topic. We have organizations like the Minority Cannabis Business Association, that got started because they wanted to see more, minority applicants or in the license process for acquiring new licenses in new states, as well as, seeing more men and women of color in executive level positions, within the industry. Something that I've seen a really big disparity in is between the males. There are a ton more male growers than there are, female cultivation growers.
Yes.
There's been a lot of discussion, about what goes up, what happens in Northern California, up in the farms, and there's just terrible things that happen to women, that discourage them from getting involved. Within the industry, or expanding upon their craft as a master grower. For specifically for minorities, it's probably a hard concept to kind of wrap your mind around the fact that, okay, now I can go and work at a dispensary, and sell weed legally, whereas, if I was in the streets doing this, I would have gotten
I'd be locked up.
So there's a lot of, change on the horizon that I see happening. I know for myself, I definitely try and make a conscious effort to bring up that diversity piece with, with any clients that we talk to, and make sure, that everyone is open to hiring. And, so far we've had, a lot of diverse hires between myself and the rest of our recruitment team. We have really made an effort to make sure that we are equal, an equal hiring, employer, and offer equal opportunities to men, women, anyone of any race, gender, sexual orientation. We definitely do our best to make sure that this skill set shines through, not just the person. Something that I've seen happen in Pennsylvania that I think, I would love to see happen, with more states coming up, is that they included a diversity component within their cannabis program.
I heard about that.
Requires Pennsylvania state officials to create outreach programs to encourage persons of color, people of color, to apply for medical marijuana licenses, which I think, when we see more progressive legislation like that, we will see a lot more men and women of minorities, coming out of the woodwork and really showing us, who they are from a cultivation standpoint. From the executive, standpoint as well, I've definitely interviewed, a ton of diverse candidates, which has really, made my heart happy to see, men and women of color succeeding, outside of the cannabis industry and turning their focus to cannabis.
Good. Yeah, I think as we just get more comfortable with it, there's a lot of fear and mistrust and just, misperceptions and all kinds of things that kind of get in the way. But I definitely think that the field will become more diverse as more of us kind of flood the market, right? So if you have just a plethora of talented, diverse groups of people that are applying for these positions, we will make it such that they won't have any other choice but to see the diversity and see the value in hiring diverse groups of people of color for their organizations. So I want to flood your inbox with some diverse resumes and such.
Send it my way.
How can my audience contact you or contact Vankst so that they can submit a resume or search open positions?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks. Thanks so much for letting me plug in my company. If you would like to get in contact with myself or submit your resume for any of the open positions that we have posted on bankstalent.com, you can send an email to amandag@bankstalent.com. You can also create an online profile on our job board called Banksters, so VANGSTERS.com. And on there, you can create your own online job profile that will help you to put your resume in front of a ton of hiring companies. I know here in Colorado, we just signed up Native Roots as well as LiveWell, to that platform. So what happens is once you submit your resume and create your profile, these hiring companies will then use keyword searches on their end and contact you directly when they're looking for someone of your skill set. So that's definitely going to be a really great way to kind of, cut out the middleman, aka me, and get in front of these hiring companies faster. But if you want to go the traditional route and work with me, like I said, you shoot me an email, amandag@bankstalent.com, and we can get the ball rolling and hopefully get you in a new position soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda. That's a great service that you guys are offering to the banksters. I think that's awesome. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm going to have to call you offline so we can chat some more.
All of you guys have a great night.
All right. Thank you so much. You take care, dear. Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Before we get out of here tonight, I just want to mention I will be presenting Cannabis for Health and Wellness at Insight Awareness on May 24th. That's Insight Awareness in Homewood, Illinois. Check them out for tickets and more information. Also, if your organization would like to host an educational presentation on the health and wellness benefits of cannabis, the Illinois Medical Marijuana Pilot Program, and how to register for the program, or other cannabis-related topics, contact us at info@twodopechicks.com. Thank you so much for listening to The Dope Show. Special thank you to our two guests, Miss Tiffany Hogan of THC Staffing and Amanda Guerrero of Banks Talent Network. Once again, this has been The Dope Show on IntellectualRadio.com, twodopechicks.com, and we'll see you next week, Monday at 8.